Alright, welcome to something new I'm kind of trying. This is more maybe based off for YouTube, but I wanted to stream it on Twitch in case anybody wanted to join the conversation and talk about the Nebraska football situation, the team, the disbelief, the disappointment that is Husker football at this time. I'm not sure if I'll do this a lot. After the week 1 game against Illinois was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me on this Husker football team and my faith in them to kind of do anything. So kind of what I wanted to do is kind of talk about the team, how we got to where we are now, the game, which I didn't watch. I had to listen to on the radio, but I didn't listen to all of it. So some of the facts I may or may not have 100% correct, but I figured we talked about it anyway. In the show, we'll go just hopefully as long as the game goes on the screen. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe it'll get cut short. We'll see. So, anyways, background for me, I've been a Nebraska fan since I started watching them with my grandpa probably in the late 90s, after the Tommy Frazier, after the Scott Frost national championships, so like probably around 98, 99, 2000. The first Husker I ever remember watching was Eric Crouch at quarterback, and he was my all-time favorite Husker, probably because he's the first one I ever remember wearing the colors and the uniform. So, with that being said, let's talk about how did we get here. So, Tom Osborne, Bob Devaney, I guess, was the head coach before Osborne. Osborne took over after the head championships in 1970-71. So Osborne took over, I think, officially in 73. And he did not make it to a national championship game until 1983, which they lost by 1 on that play where they decided to go for 2 to win. You know, either the hero or the GOAT. And it just didn't pan out against Miami. I think they lost, 31-30. So instead of kicking the PAT and going to overtime, they decided to roll the dice, go for 2. Either you win or you go home. And they lost, unfortunately. But then, after that, they did not make it to another national championship game until 1994. 94, 95, 97. They won all 3 titles those 3 years. Maybe should have won in 96. Could have won in 96. And they could have maybe won 4 straight. And then Tom Osborne, he retires in 1987 after winning his 3rd national championship in 4 years. Had a really good career. You know, never had a losing season at Nebraska. And I'm looking at his records, and I didn't know all of them off the top of my head, and how would I? You know, he won lots of division, conference titles. And it looks like his worst record was 9 wins. 9-3 was the worst record he ever had as the head coach of the Big Red. So he had a great career as the head coach. So Osborne retires. Frank Solich takes the reins. His first year as head coach, they went from going 13-0 to 9-4. You know, not ideal. After you just won a national championship to go 9-4, and I don't know a whole lot of the reasons why. I'm assuming a lot of people graduated probably in 97. You probably lost a lot of your talent in 1997. Then they took 2nd in their division in the conference, and they bounced back. The next year they go 12-1 and win the conference 7-1, and they won the Fiesta Bowl. They didn't play in the national championship game, but they won the Fiesta Bowl against Tennessee and took 2nd. I think they were ranked 2nd in the league that year, maybe 2nd or 3rd. But hey, 12-1, great year. And then they went 10-2, tied for 1st in their division. 11-2, tied for 1st in their division. Good years. They beat Northwestern in the Alamo Bowl. That's not a very... Maybe Northwestern was better then, but they kicked the crap out of them. Then they lost to Miami in the Rose Bowl in 01, which in 01 they did play in the national championship game. That was Eric Crouch's senior year, and they lost 37-14. So I think it was considered the national championship game if they would have won. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. It was different back then. It wasn't the BCS, so it wasn't 1 and 2. So it's kind of hard to really know. They just kind of, you played who you played, and then they figured it out at the end, kind of thing. But you kind of knew the winner of this game was the champion, because that year they got demolished by Colorado, and then they lost to Miami. Yeah, they got demolished by Colorado the week prior to getting beaten by Miami. They were undefeated until they lost to Colorado, I believe. So anyways, you play for a potential title. Not bad. Then the next year, after Eric Crouch had graduated, can't remember who the quarterback was that following year. But then they went 7-7. Not great. That was the worst season they had since the Tom Osborne time. I don't know what Bob Devaney's worst record is, ever or was. Let's see. He had a couple 6-4s in 67 and 68. Then he won his titles in 70 and 71. So he had 2 6-4 seasons. Those were his worst records. That was our worst record since 1968, is when Frank Solich was 7-7. But when you think about it, 7-7. So that's sometimes a team's best record they've ever had, a 7-7. But anyways, they went 7-7. The next year, they went 10-3. They won the Alamo Bowl against Michigan, which I believe, or no, it was Michigan State. Sorry, Michigan State. They went 10-3, 5-3, and took second. So they won 3 more games than they did the previous year. So they had a better season. And then Frank Solich gets fired because they weren't doing well enough. You weren't doing well enough. You went 9-4, 12-1, 10-2, 11-2, 7-7, and then 10-3. So that's what? 9, 21, 31, 42, 52. You had 59 wins. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, 12, 19. You were, what, 52 and 19? I think that's what I said. 52 wins, 19 losses. Something like that. So you had a good record by any imagination of the word. So you had a great record. You hadn't won a national championship. You had won 1 division title, looks like, in 99. Didn't win in 2000 and 2001. You were in it, but you got beat. Same thing with 2000. You played for it, but lost. Then you took 4th in 02 and 2nd in 03. So then you fire Frank Solich, who had, by all means, a really good record for Nebraska during his time there. Better than anybody. We haven't had a coach who's had a good record since. Not a single coach. The only one close would be Bill Pelini. He's the closest, but I think Solich's was still better. And from a national standpoint, better too as well. We never played for a title under anybody else. We never won a conference title under anybody else. So Solich was our best head coach. So you hire Bill Callahan, who was so the players we had in Nebraska under Frank Solich were option players, speed, rushing, run the ball players, smash mouth players. So then you bring in Bill Callahan, who I believe was coming from the Oakland Raiders at that point. He was a pro style, we're going to spread you out, throw the football kind of guy. He wasn't a run the ball player. So you had the wrong personnel in Lincoln to run that system.
In a game that's this close, you can't afford to waste possessions.
So the very first year in 04, Bill Callahan with his pro style system with the run style players, we go 5-6. Our first losing record Oh, let me look. Our first losing record since 1960, where we went 4-6.
Second and 10. Ball on the
So it had
25-yard
been
line.
44 years. 44 years since we had a losing record.
He gets to about the 34-yard line.
Not a great start. So you went from going 10-3 to then 5-6. Now, who's to say that you wouldn't have had a 5-6 record with Frank? I can't say you would have, but I can't say that it wouldn't have been a better season because of his style. You probably would have won more games. You maybe wouldn't have won 10, but you wouldn't have lost 6. I can probably tell you that. So the next year, not bad, 8-4. Took second in the Big 12, I believe. Yeah, Big 12, second. The next year, 9-5. You took first in the North. You played Texas, I believe. No, that was later. 06. I don't remember who we played in 06. You played in the Big 12 conference championship game. You lost, but you still played in it. That's not bad. 9-5. And then you go 5-7 the following year. So you had 2 losing seasons in 4 years. And by 07, Callahan should have had his kind of guys to run his system in Lincoln at that time. Should have had him. That should have been his players, his recruits. All of Frank's guys should have been gone. These would have been his guys. And you go 5-7. Okay. So then you fire Bill. Now, in Lincoln, you have pro-style people there now because you just had Bill, who was a pro-style guy. So you had his players that he recruited, and then you fire him. Not saying that it was the wrong decision to get rid of Bill, but then what they did next, again, made no sense. So you fire Bill. Okay. Rightfully so. 2 bad years. I mean, you shouldn't have hired him in the first place. You shouldn't have fired Frank, but that's neither here nor there. So you fire Bill, and then you hire Bo Pelini. And Bo Pelini was the interim head coach in 2003 when Frank got fired, because Frank was fired before the last game of the year. So Bo Pelini actually was the head coach for the Alamo Bowl against Michigan State, which Nebraska won. And Bo, I think, wanted the head coaching job in Lincoln, but shocker, Martinez just fumbled it. Wanted the head coaching job in Lincoln, was turned down because they hired Bill, who came from the NFL. Bo then went to LSU, won a national championship in 07 as the defensive coordinator for LSU Tigers. So then after that, comes back to Lincoln as the head coach. Now, Bo comes in. He is more of a run-style coach than... I mean, he's a defensive guy, but his offensive philosophy, I think, was more on the ground than in the air. But Bo takes this 5-7 crappy football team. His first year, they go 9-4. So think about that. So Bill Callahan, and I don't honestly remember this. It depends on the situation too, so I could be wrong because I was young. So when Bill took over, he took over for a 10-3 team, and maybe the team was stripped down because everybody graduated. Could be. So I could be out of line. But he takes a 10-3 team and makes them 5-6. So terrible. And then Bo comes in, takes a 5-7 team. Next year makes them 9-4. So he wins twice as many games almost. His first year, when Bill won half as many his first year. But again, it could have been everybody left because they graduated in 03, so it could have been stripped down team in 04. But still, how do you make sense of taking a 5-7 team, turning them into 9-4, something changed. It wasn't people coming in because Bo didn't get to recruit his guys. He had Bill's guys. So anyways, he goes 9-4, tied for first in the Big 12 North. Beat Clemson in the Gator Bowl. Then the next year goes 10-4, wins the North, loses in the conference title game, wins another bowl against Arizona, 33-0. Okay. 2010, 10-4 again, tied for first in the North, and this time loses to Washington in the bowl game. So we went 10-4, lost. So that year they must have played for the Big 12 title again and lost. The first year first year in 08 they didn't. 09, 010, 09 and 10 they played for it but didn't win either of those years. Then 2011, comparative to his first 3 years, was a down year. They went 9-4, took third in the North, their worst finish in the North up to that point, and then lost to South Carolina in the bowl game. So that was his worst year up to that point. 2012, they went 10-4, won the North again, 7-1. They lost. I think that's the year they lost to Texas. Was in 12, I believe. Oh, that was the Big 10. 2010, they lost to Texas. 2012, they got stomped by Wisconsin, I believe, because that was when Ohio State had their money thing under Tressel, and it turned into a whole thing. So 2012, they lost. They got demolished by Wisconsin. Lost in the Capital One Bowl to Georgia. 2013, the last year this third year in the Big Ten, they were 9-4, tied for second. They beat Georgia the next year in the Gator Bowl. In his last year, 2014, they went 9-4, tied for second in the Big Ten West Division this time, not the Legends anymore, the West. Then they lost to USC by 3 points in their bowl game. So Bo Pelini won 9 games every year. Granted, his losses were generally, especially to Wisconsin, were embarrassing. But he played in 3 conference championship games, 2 in the Big Ten, or 1 in the Big Ten, 2 in the Big 12. And he won 3 bowl games and lost 3 bowl games. But overall, his record was good. The biggest problem with him was his attitude and fuming. He was very emotional, fiery guy, but I took it as competitive and his wanted to win and his desire to win, which we lacked under Bill Callahan. So, but then after 2014, he gets fired. Finally, after the Bill Callahan debacle, embarrassment, we have a good coach under Bo, and he gets canned. In 5 of his years, he ended the season ranked. 2 of the seasons he did not. So more seasons he ended the year ranked in the top 25. 2 of them he wasn't. His last year he was not. So then they hired nice guy Mike Riley. And Mike Riley was a guy just like Bill Callahan. So once again, you had run-style offensive players in Lincoln, and then you hired a pro-style coach for offense. So again, the wrong players are there for his system. So you're totally redoing everything that you had set up. And the same thing happened with Bill, and I knew when Bill came in that it wasn't going to work. I was not a fan of Bill, I was not a fan of Mike, and I said it before they even took the field that it was not going to go well. And it was like a broken record again with Mike Riley. Because the very first year, he took a Bo Pelini 9-4 team and went 6-7. the first losing season since Bills last year in 07, where Bo took that 5-7 team and made them 9-4. Mike took a 9-4 Bo team and made them 6-7. Okay, not great, but they did win their bowl game that they were kind of gifted because they were Nebraska and they needed another team because they knew it would sell tickets. So they were kind of gifted another game. So in 2016, the next year, much improved compared to that 6-7. We went 9-4, tied for second in the Big Ten. In Mike's first year, we took fourth in the Big Ten, which to that point was our worst finish in the Big Ten or any conference since before Bob Devaney. We had never finished that low during that time frame. Third might even be. Oh no, I guess besides Bill. Bill finished fifth. So Mike's first year finishes the second worst we've had in the last 40 years, not including the Scott Frost era. So we're not there yet, to this point in time in 2016. Then he goes 9-4, 6-3, ties for second in the Big Ten West. And then we got beat by Tennessee by 14 in the bowl game. Not terrible. But then the next year, we went from 9-4 to 4-8, finishing fifth in the Big Ten West. This time, no pity party bowl game for Nebraska. We did not finish a single season ranked in the top 25 under Mike Riley, because Mike Riley was then fired after 3 years. So to this point, we hadn't been ranked since 2013, and that was ranked. We were finished 25th in 2013 when we went 9-4 and beat Georgia in the Gator Bowl. So Mike Riley gets canned in 2017, 3 years, and now finally in 2017 he has his guys. His offense is there. His pro style players are now going to be the ones playing. Yeah, you just went 4-8, but you could say that some of those guys were not Mike Riley guys that he had in key spots, potentially. You could potentially make that argument. I don't think they would have done much better. But you weren't getting good recruits. You had pro-style offensive players. And then you fire Mike Riley in 2017, and Scott Frost takes over in 2018. So we're in the Scott Frost era. He is now in his 4th season. We've played 1 game, so he's completed 3 seasons. His very first year, he took the Mike Riley 4-8 team and went 4-8. Did the exact same thing Mike Riley did. But Scott Frost is, to me, more of a power style on the ground than more of the pro style that Mike Riley is. He's more of run the ball, establish the run, then we'll spread it out. So he's run first kind of guy. I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like that's his style. So then again, in 2018, you had the wrong people in place. You had pass pro style for more of a run first, pass second kind of offense. So you go 4-8, tied for 5th in the Big Ten West, getting demolished by teams that are not, that we shouldn't be losing to, that shouldn't be kicking our butt. You know, we should be able to compete with Iowa. We should be beating, you know, Purdue, Illinois, Northwestern. Northwestern, ever since we've been in the Big Ten, has always been a close game. And generally, you know, you had the Ron Kellogg Hail Mary that we won, you know, whatever. But for whatever reason, Northwestern Nebraska has always been a good game. But we should be able to beat teams like that, and it shouldn't be like, hey man, I hope we win, or we're favored by 3 points or a touchdown. You know, those should be the Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State games that were it's 3 to 7 point separation either way, every year. It shouldn't be the lower bottom feeder teams. That's just not how. That's not the Nebraska where we were used to in the 90s and 2000s. So anyway, we went 5-7, 3-6, tied for 5th, and then in 2020 I feel like you kind of get a bye for Scott Frost, because it was, or any coach that was in the hot seat in general. It wasn't a normal year. You didn't play any non-conference teams, which, if you look at our record, we won as many non-conference games, or as many conference games as we did any other year. But you know, you didn't get the same kind of practicing. You didn't get the same kind of off-season stuff. So it's harder to hold that against somebody, I feel like. But with a little asterisk, in 2020, we went 3-5, and we took 5th again in the Big Ten West. So that's 3 years in a row under Scott Frost. We took 5th in the West. 4 years in a row total where we took 5th in the West. So we are basically at the bottom of the Big Ten. Nobody looks at the schedule and is like, Nebraska, ooh, that's going to be a tough one. Nobody does that. Unless you're Illinois. Or they look at that and they're like, oh, we could win that game. That could be one of our few wins we get in the Big Ten. But they're not looking at it as, I don't want to play them. They can't wait because they have a chance to win a Big Ten game. You know, they know when they play Ohio State, Michigan, they're like, we just hope we don't get our asses kicked and get embarrassed. That's their thought process.
I'm impressed with the poise of this quarterback and the ability of the receiver to keep his concentration and get his hands on the football.
Here's play number 10 on the drive.
So that year kind of doesn't count. All right, fast forward to, or rewind, I guess. Fast forward to 2021, rewind to like a week ago, where we played Illinois. Now, I didn't watch the whole game. I didn't watch the game. I listened to it on the radio, and I listened to most of it. But my gist, from what I understood of the game, the first half, basically, the Nebraska defense did great. They had quite a few sacks, especially to start the game off. Illinois couldn't move the ball very well right away. And neither could Nebraska's offense. Nebraska couldn't move the ball pretty much at all, whether they were throwing it or running it. When they threw it, there'd be wide open receivers, and he would miss them completely. And he's a senior. I think he's a redshirt senior, so he's been there 5 years. This is his 5th year, and he can't hit wide open targets. You know, his instinct is kind of to run the ball, and instead of throwing it to the open guy, because he doesn't know if he can get it there. He's already psyching himself out because he's like, I can't throw that. I'm just going to take off and get 5 yards instead of throwing it and getting 15 to 20, because I'll probably throw it out of bounds or throw a pick. So his stat line was 16 of 32, 50%. Not great. 232 yards. That's a lot of yards for only 16 completions. He did have 1 touchdown, no interceptions, but I don't know how many of those were close to being intercepted because I didn't see it. I just heard it. He did have 111 yards on the ground thanks to that 75-yard touchdown run, which I don't know how it all played out, what happened. That was the highlight of the game for him, was that 75-yard touchdown. His stat line could have been a heck of a lot better, and we probably would have won the game if he'd have made his throws. And then, let's see, we missed 2 PATs. 2 of them.
Boy, how about the poise? This kid wasn't worried about the blitz
He had
at all.
3 attempts and missed 2. How do you miss 2 PATs? Kickers don't even miss 2 in a year, let alone 2 in the same game.
First and 10. Ball on the 29
And he's supposed to be a all-conference kicker, but he missed 2 PATs in the very first game. Like, how does that happen? That is just mind-boggling. And then the Cam Taylor-Britt safety. Like, why would you touch the ball on the 1-yard line? Like, I don't get it. That's such a mental mistake. How would you not know by now? Especially for someone like him, who's been there again, I think as a senior, and is a captain on the team. You should not be making those mistakes. That's like a freshman, sophomore play. And if you're a captain on the team, that shouldn't happen at all. You know, that's just mind-boggling. Our punter did not do phenomenal. He is only a freshman, so he made freshman mistakes. And you know what? He's a freshman. He should. His first kick was terrible. His second kick was pretty good. He did kick 5 times. His average was only 34 yards a kick, so I don't know how. Depends on, you know, how they were, where they were at on the field. But judging by the offense, they probably had to kick far every single time. But so his average kick distance was not great. But he's a freshman. He should be making those freshman mistakes.
They line up to kick this one away. He sends this one deep.
All right. Where's that?
And it goes into the end zone, down for a touchback.
Both teams are kind of struggling to take
So the play-by-play, they get the safety. They're up 2-0. So we're going to go down into the second quarter. Starting the second quarter, it's 2-0. We score that touchdown to start off the second quarter. We missed the PAT, so we're 6-2. And then Connor makes a field goal to make it 9-2. And then we give up a touchdown on defense.
First and 10, ball on the 37.
And I think they had a short field because we had to punt it. I think they got the ball on like the 40-yard line at that point. So they had a short field. We give up a touchdown, which can't fault your defense for that. So then it's 9-9 because they can make their PATs instead of it being 10-9 with us with the lead. And then we have the football with less than a minute left. Martinez fumbles the ball and is returned to the end zone. So we go into the half down 19-6. So our offense, special teams, gifted them 11 points. 9 points. Excuse me, 9 points. So really, our defense only gave up 7 points in that first half. So it should have been 10-7 if we make that PAT. We're up by 3 going into the half, which, you know, Nebraska should be able to beat Illinois by more than that, but we should have had a lead going into the half. Realistically, should have had a lead. All right, third quarter, I don't know a whole lot of what happened. They scored a touchdown. They scored another touchdown, so all of a sudden, third quarter is almost over. It's 30-9. We get the ball back. Martinez has a crazy run, 75-yard run, and all of a sudden it's 30-16. So you go into the fourth quarter, you're down by 14 points. And then we scored a touchdown at the end, we lost 30-22. Again, PAT missed the PAT at the end of the fourth quarter. So then guaranteeing that we'd have to go for 2 to try to win the game. It's those mistakes. Your 3 veteran players, Martinez, Connor Culp, and Cam Taylor-Britt, made huge mistakes in the football game that costs you the game. Whether it's missing open receivers, missing PATs, or having bonehead mistakes like that safety. If it wasn't for the defense and how well they played in the first half, I don't know how well they must not have played very well in the second half. But for how well they played in the first half, we're lucky we didn't get beat by 20-plus points for how bad our offense played and our special teams played. The only shining star of any of this game was the Martinez run and our defense in the first half. How many times was... Because we forced 1 fumble, but it was recovered by them. So we forced it, but they recovered it. We had no interceptions. There was no interceptions, period, by both teams. We're the only ones who had the turnover with the fumble. And then also the safety is kind of like a turnover because we would have had the ball instead, which this was huge. So on the safety, they punted it. We were going to get the ball back. We screw up, give them 2 points, and the football. So it's basically a turnover. And then our defense kills it and prevents them from scoring more points. Because, yeah, it could have been terrible. That could have been a terrible mistake that not only gifts them 2 points, but it gives them the ball back. And they're going to get great field position off the punt, because it's just a punt. It's not on the tee, you know. How many sacks did we have? I want to try to see that because I think we had quite a few sacks. We had 5 sacks. I think most of those were in the first half, but they were great. Because yeah, the play-by-play.
Looks middle, got his back. They'll bring him down at the 50.
They had the completed pass to start the game with. Then they had a
From the 50.
TFL. I don't think they say sack on here. They just say tackle for loss. They don't say sacks. I don't know which ones were sacks, but they had a lot of sacks all in the first half. So anyways, Nebraska loses 30-22. Almost kind of guaranteeing themselves they're not going to have a 50-50 season. Because they have Fordham left, Buffalo. Oklahoma is going to embarrass the crap out of us. I'm hoping that game isn't 80-0. Like, Oklahoma is going to be looking to set a NCAA football record for points scored in a game. That's what I'd be doing if I was them. Michigan State, Northwestern, Michigan, Minnesota, Purdue, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Iowa. Our last 3 games all could be blowouts. So if they don't beat Ford, if they lose to Fordham, whatever the hell they're called, if they lose that game, I don't know how Scott Frost is going to keep his job. Nebraska can't afford to fire him because they pay him like $35 million a year. But he is not going to be getting no contract extension if he loses that football game. If you get beat by them, that will be, you're at the bottom of the barrel. If you think you're low now, it'll be where we are now, 50 feet of shit where we are after we lose. That is where Nebraska would be. And it is all Nebraska's fault by thinking Frank Solich was not doing good enough and firing him after he went 9-4, or I think it was 9-4. 10-3 after he's going, well, he was 9-3, and then he got fired and they won, so 10-3 total. And firing Bo Pelini, because you replaced him with somebody that was doing well. Nebraska still had a name at that point. Nebraska still meant something after Bo Pelini while Bo Pelini was there. And then you fire him and it means nothing. Now it means nothing. Nebraska's name is shit. It means nothing to anybody anymore. NDSU has a better name than Nebraska does. So you should be able to win the next 2 games. You should have started the year off 3-0 and then got slaughtered by Oklahoma. But we should be 2-1, 2-2. We're gonna lose the last 3 games. You're hoping to beat Purdue. You're hoping to beat Michigan State. You're gonna get beat by Michigan. You might win 4 games, 5 games, maybe. 5 games, maybe, the rest of the year. If you're lucky. If we are lucky, we could potentially win 5 games. That's it. So, yeah. That is Nebraska from where we were to where we are now, and we have only ourselves to blame. And Iowa, who we hate and hates the shit out of us, is laughing because they are in a better state than we are. Their football team, our football team is pathetic to the point where our basketball team is getting better recruits than our football team. That has never happened, I can almost guarantee you. There has never been a time where our basketball team was getting better recruits than our football team were. Anyways, so I'm going to be putting this on YouTube as soon as I'm done here, which will be in a minute. Somehow enough, Nebraska won the simulation 13-12. So I'm going to send Scott Frost this tape, and he can figure out how to win a football game. Anyways, thanks to those for you watching. If you want to watch it on YouTube, I'm going to upload it to my YouTube channel. Should be a link to my Twitch. And I don't know if I'll do this every week. Probably not, because I won't have 45 minutes of stuff to talk about every single week. But maybe I'll just put it on the background, and maybe more people will join, and it'll become like a weekly show. Who knows? Anyways, thanks for those who were here to watch. If you want to follow, go ahead, hit that follow button for more, and I'll see you next time.